Welcome back, everybody. It's Zach here, bringing you guys another fantasy football video. And this one, I'll be going over the final 8 games of Week 4, going over every single player that I think is going to be fantasy relevant this week, and sort of telling you what I think should happen in this game, and sort of, in general, doing my best effort to give you guys general start-sit questions. Of course, this is all, not very league-specific, so if you guys do have any specific questions, start-sit questions for me, let me know in the comments below. I love interacting with you guys there and doing what I can to help you guys get your lineup set. We had a kind of fun Thursday night football game. Obviously, a little bit low scoring, but it was good to see. The Giants didn't have to punt very often. We saw Malik Neighbors ball out. CeeDee Lamb balled out. Jake Ferguson did his job. The only person you might have been disappointed in if you started them was Devin Singletary. I started him in a league. That was a little sad. But overall, we got generally, nobody really left Thursday too disappointed. Nobody that's playing anybody is super just down and out already either. So, fun Thursday night football game. We got a lot of good games this weekend, and hopefully you guys enjoy. So yeah, let's get started here. I'll start things off with the Eagles at the Bucs here. This one should be a fun game, although there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding it. Just not really sure who's going to be out there for Philadelphia. I am currently operating under the assumption that both Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown are going to miss this game. A.J. Brown just seems like he needs one more week to come back from that hamstring injury. Devonta Smith obviously got concussed last week. Going to be tough for him to clear protocol before this game. So it's going to make Saquon and Dallas Goedert both must starts. If either one of those two wide receivers do play, I'm still starting both those guys along with whatever receivers are active. Goddard, his value just goes down and down the more of those guys are active. But I think regardless, Goddard's kind of got to be in lineups after what he did last week. Hurts, he's a start regardless. He's obviously got enough of a rushing floor. I think that they'll be able to make it work. You're not going to see a super high-scoring game if both A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith are out, but there's no way I could really see myself benching Jalen Hurts unless you've got like Jaden Daniels as well or something. For the Bucs, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, both those guys are must starts here. I know Mike Evans has been a little bit underwhelming, but this Eagles defense is certainly one we can take advantage of. I think both of them have good games. Rachaad White is still a good play in this game. I know the Bucs are not going to be able to run the ball very effectively. The Eagles so far do have a really effective run defense. All that being said, though, I think that Rachaad White's still going to be able to catch a lot of passes. I think he's getting healthier and healthier with the groin injury. Bucky Irving also popped up on the injury report this week with a hamstring injury. So right when we thought Bucky was maybe going to take over more workload, he might just not be able to do it from a health standpoint. So I'm still playing Rachaad White this week. Bucky Irving, like a really low-end flex play if he plays, but I just really am more just curious to see how the workload evolves over the next several weeks. Don't really want to play Bucky in this game if I can avoid it. Next game here is going to be the Patriots at the 49ers. For the Patriots, I think Ramondre is really the only Patriot that I would consider starting. I don't even think you need to play him. This is not a great matchup against San Francisco. I know on paper it looks good because they obviously just give up three total touchdowns to Kyren Williams. Makes their season-long numbers against running backs not look very good. But in general, they're a pretty solid defense. The Patriots are what we thought they were. They're not a very good team. They're not going to be very competitive. So you're going to need Ramondre to either score a touchdown or just catch enough passes to sort of volume his way to being good. He's a low-end RB2. You can play him, but I could see a world where you have better options. Hunter Henry, he's a desperation play at the tight end position. I don't really want to go there, so I hope you have better options. I would play Cole Kmet over him. Zach Ertz is a better play. There's better streaming options than Hunter Henry this week. For the 49ers, Jordan Mason, he's a lock for San Francisco. I know it was a bit underwhelming last week, but he just didn't get in the end zone. I bet he scores this week. You're playing Jordan Mason. George Kittle, you're starting if he's active here. Same thing with Deebo Samuel. I sort of think that we're going to see George Kittle play and then not see Deebo this week. So for me, that's going to make Kittle in, Deebo's out, obviously. I think then you can start both Brandon Ayuk and Jawan Jennings. Just a little bit iffy. Like obviously, the target share is going to be a little bit less for both those guys when George Kittle's back. Ayuk a wide receiver 3, Jennings probably a wide receiver 3/flex at this point. Jennings, I think you have to play if Deebo and Kittle both miss. It's just hard to not go back to that well, but obviously don't expect a repeat there. I could see a world where you have better options. Like I have Jennings in one league. I'm playing Terry McLaurin over him this week, so he's not a must start by any means, but just keep an eye on that. Next up, we get a pretty fun game between the Commanders and the Arizona Cardinals. Hopefully this one's as fun as I'm expecting it to be. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring in this game. Two fun mobile quarterbacks. I think this should be a pretty good game. For the Commanders, Jaden Daniels at this point, he's a must-start every single week. The rushing floor is insanely high, and if he continues to develop as a passer, I think he could potentially even be a league-winning asset. So Jaden Daniels is a must-start going forward. Brian Robinson, he should be in lineups for sure this week. Good matchup against Arizona. Austin Eckler not going to play this game, got concussed last week. So you're playing Brian Robinson for sure. Zach Ertz and Terry McLaurin, I think they're both good plays as well. They're the clear number 1 and 2 targets in this offense. McLaurin, it was great to see him get involved last week. Could have scored twice. Did score once, had 100 yards and a touchdown. You're playing Terry McLaurin in this matchup. And then Zach Ertz just seems to be the safety net for Jaden Daniels. Like he's going to be a solid guy. He'll get 5 catches, 50 yards, and that's kind of really good at the tight end position right now. For the Cardinals, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and James Conner, they're all in your lineups here. I can't imagine sitting any one of those three. Trey McBride is the same thing here. Like, you're playing him if he's active. He's probably going to be the tight end one this week if he can play. If he misses this game, I think Michael Wilson's a sneaky play. You don't need to play him by any means, but there will be a secondary target in this game, I think, for Arizona that gets involved. I think it'd be Michael Wilson, but I don't want to go there unless McBride is inactive, and then even if he is inactive, obviously, it's just a little bit risky playing a guy like that. Next up, we've got the Chiefs at the Chargers here. Really not expecting a lot of fun in this game here. Rashee Rice is really the only player in the entire game that I'm excited to play here. So you're playing him for sure. Carson Steele, low-end running back play. They elevated Kareem Hunt to the active roster. That just makes things a little bit murkier there. You can still play him as like a low-end RB2, but you probably need him to score a touchdown, so it is a little bit scary. I don't really want to do that. Xavier Worthy, deep league flex play. You need the big play. I don't know if you're going to get it in this game. I don't think the Chiefs will need to score a lot of points, so don't really think you're playing Xavier Worthy. And then you're playing Travis Kelce, but who knows? Like, obviously the floor is really low. We haven't seen a big performance yet, but just you're stuck with him. You have to play him. Patrick Mahomes, he's a low-end quarterback one for me, a streaming option. This is not a good game environment. It's going to be a run-heavy, low-scoring game between them and the Chargers. I don't really feel like you need to play Patrick Mahomes if you want to stream some of the options that we talked about as streaming options. You don't need to play Patrick Mahomes this week, but you're probably playing him because he's Patrick Mahomes, but I just want to iterate that you don't need to. For the Chargers, J.K. Dobbins is probably the only Charger that I'm like seriously considering starting. He's just like, he's been getting the volume. He's obviously capable of an explosive run. So I think Dobbins is like an RB2 this week, like a mid-tier RB2 for me. Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnson, they're both low-end options for me. I don't really want to play either one of them. Justin Herbert, I think he's going to suit up in this one, but it's, you got a banged-up Justin Herbert against a really good Chiefs defense. Ladd McConkey has not been super involved just from a volume standpoint. Quentin Johnson scored 3 times, but other than that, he hasn't been involved. So I don't really want to play either one of them. If you had to play that one, I'd probably lead McConkey just because I don't want to trust the touchdown every week with Quentin Johnston, but it's gross. I think it's J.K. Dobbins and then Rashee Rice, and honestly, those are the only 2 guys I think I'm excited about, and then Kelce and Mahomes probably in lineups, but I'm not excited about that either. Next, we've got the Browns at the Raiders. For the Browns, Amari Cooper is really the only Brown that I want to play in this one. Njoku, he would be right back into my lineup if he returns, but it sounds like he's going to be inactive this week, so I think you're obviously sitting David Njoku. There's no ancillary pieces that you're looking to play instead. Jerome Ford, he's a low-end play at the running back position. The Raiders are not a very good run defense. I think Jerome Ford can be played. He's like a solid low-end RB2. For the Raiders, Devontae Adams, Brock Bowers, they're both in play every single week. You're starting those guys every week going forward. Jacoby Myers, super low-end flex play for me. Not really excited about it. Bad game environment. Again, should be a low-scoring game. I don't want to play Jacoby Myers in this one. And I don't want to play either Raider running back either. Zamir White has looked awful. Alexander Mattison would actually be the one I would play if I had to. But, again, this Browns defense should be good. Just not a good matchup. I don't want to do it. So you're playing Adams and Bowers, and then probably Cooper, and that's honestly it. Ford maybe if you need him. Starting next year with the Sunday Night Football game between the Bills and the Ravens. This one should be a really fun game. It's going to be exciting to potentially see the Bills in a game where they're not just dominating the whole game. For the Bills, we get James Cook, Josh Allen, Dalton Kincaid, their lineup blocks every single week. I can't imagine sitting either one of those 3. Khalil Shakir looks to be the wide receiver that I'd be playing in Buffalo if I had to go there. So Shakir, I think he's a solid flex play. Keon Coleman, a deep league option, but I don't want to go there. You're not playing anybody else for the Bills this week. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and honestly Mark Andrews, they're going to be in your lineups. I know Mark Andrews has been brutal, but I can't really imagine you've got a better option at the tight end position unless you got lucky and picked up, like maybe you drafted Andrews and Bowers or something, so then you're playing Bowers, but like you'd need to have a pretty solid option to convince me not to play Mark Andrews. So I think you're playing Mark Andrews and you just got to ride it. I do think better days are ahead for Mark Andrews, but obviously it's getting really tough and frustrating to put him in your lineup every single week. Outside of that, Zay Flowers is a solid wide receiver 3. The Bills have been absolutely dominant against opposing pass catchers, so it is concerning, but they should manufacture some touches for him. They're not going to be able to run the ball 45 times this week like they did last week. I think Zay Flowers is a solid play, but not one that I would expect to win in your week. And then Isaiah Likely, really low-end tight end option. I don't really want to play him, but if you have to, you could do worse. We know what the upside is there, so there's obviously at least a case there for him to end up being good this week. Next, we got the first of 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Again, second week in a row with 2 of those, so keep an eye out on that, by the way. Make sure if you've got guys in those games, put them in your flex. It just gives you more flexibility going into those games. For the Titans, this one's tough, really. I don't really want to play any Titans, to be honest. I think Pollard is an RB2 option. I'm playing him in the one league I have, or I have him in 2 leagues. I'm playing him in one. I'm benching him for Najee in another. So I think you can play him, but obviously last week was super brutal. He is still involved. He's the clear lead back in this offense. I think they'll be more competitive in this game as well. We saw how bad the Dolphins were last week, so I don't think they'll necessarily just go out there and dominate the Titans. So I think Pollard's a guy that I'm still playing. Calvin Ridley, he's the wide receiver that I'd want to play if I have to play a Titan receiver, but it's tough because we saw DeAndre Hopkins get involved last week. That makes it really scary to trust Calvin Ridley in your lineup. I played him in a league last week. That went really poorly. Traded him as well. I traded Calvin Ridley and Jaden Reed for Chris Olave earlier this week, but point being, I think Calvin Ridley's a guy, he's like a low-end flex play. There's upside, obviously, with Ridley, but understand the floor is near zero here. This could be a low-scoring, run-heavy game, to be completely honest. For the Dolphins, Devon Achane, really the only guy that I think you need to play. He's got their manufacturing touches for. He's less impacted by the quarterback play, so you're playing Devon Achane. Tyreek Hill is probably in your lineups, but obviously you probably just need a broken play or for him to take a screen pass to the house or something, because there's just no threat from the actual standpoint of their quarterback's ability to throw deep right now. Really rough rostering Tyreek. I think you're still playing him, but he's like a wide receiver 3 for me, to be honest, until we get Tua back. Jalen Waddle, low-end flex play, same thing, just a lesser version of Tyreek. You need a big play. I don't know if it's going to happen. They're not going to pass the ball as much as you'd want them to sit to. Quarterback play is going to be bad. You need a big play. You can play Waddle as a low-end flex. Like, I would play Calvin Ridley over Waddle this week, and even that feels gross. So I don't want to play Jalen Waddle, but I think a lot of people might just have to. And the last game of the week here is going to be between the Seahawks and the Lions. Should be a fun one. 2 straight years these teams have met up, and it's been a really fun, high-scoring game each of the last 2 times. Hopefully we get a repeat of that this week. For the Seahawks, not sure if we're going to see Kenneth Walker in this one. He's practiced on a limited basis so far, so we'll see what happens there. I'm going to start Kenneth Walker if he's active, just because he's super good, super talented. But the Lions are an elite run defense. You're hoping for a big play from Kenneth Walker, and he can obviously give you that. But just understand that the floor is really low for Kenneth Walker this week. You've got injury concern, bad matchup. Zach Charbonnet, I'd play him for sure if K9 is out here. Full workload for Charbonnet. He looked good last week. I think Charbonnet's a solid play if Kenneth Walker misses. I think all 3 Seattle wide receivers are in play as well here. This should be a high-scoring game. Like I said, they shouldn't be able to run the ball, so they're going to have to air it out a lot. DK is better than JSN, is better than Lockett, but DK, he's like a high-end wide receiver 2 for me. JSN, a solid wide receiver 3, and then Lockett's a solid flex option. And Geno Smith, a really solid streaming option this week as well. I could easily see him going for 303, so I think if you want to play Geno, you absolutely can. I wouldn't be shocked if you have Geno Smith and Patrick Mahomes. I don't hate it if you want to play Geno over Mahomes, and I know that sounds just absolutely ludicrous, but I kind of mean that. On the other side of the ball, Jared Goff, solid streaming option as well, but Seattle's looked pretty good on defense, so I wouldn't expect a monster game from Goff here. Goff really hasn't given us a delivered on that really at this point just yet. Other than that, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, they're all going to be in your lineups. They've been too good to imagine sitting them. Sam Laporta, he's a solid option. Obviously, you're playing him if he's active. Hopefully he can suit up in this one. Dealing with that ankle injury, so we'll see what happens. If he's out, just makes Jameson Williams a better play for me. He's a flex option with Laporta active, probably like a wide receiver 3 for me if Laporta is inactive. So I think you're playing pretty much everybody across the board here. It's just going to be hopefully we get a high-scoring game. Hopefully we get what we've seen the last 2 weeks. And I think this one should be a really fun game this week. So that'll do it for the starts and sits in week 4. Up next, I'll be going over last-minute start-sit questions, all the latest injury updates Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time, 12 p.m. Eastern time. I will go live for you guys, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. I'd love to see you guys there. It's a lot of fun interacting with you guys right before games kick off, so stay tuned for that one. That one should be a lot of fun. It's going to continue to be like 5-6 videos a week, every single week throughout the entire regular season, so if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I can keep putting out content like this. It's all free for you guys. I'll just be here all year long to help you guys win your leagues, and hopefully we can win some championships together. So yeah, appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I love helping you guys out there. If you made it this far in the video, please do give it a thumbs up. It just helps me out. And yeah, appreciate you guys. Good luck this week, and I'll catch you Sunday morning, hopefully. Peace. Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, check out these other videos here if you haven't. If you want more content, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at RealSteelFFB. I'll be more active on there as the season goes on. Thanks. Catch you later.